And now it's time for a look back at the week, and I'm joined by columnist Griffin Longley and corporate advisor John McGlue. Welcome to you both.
Well, Eliza.
Thank you.
Look, the story that's been dominating the news this week has been a lady who applied to the courts to wear a burqa when she was giving evidence in a fraud trial. Now, this story is unfolding today, but John, why is this case so sensitive?
Well, we've had the ban the burqa debate in many countries around the world, particularly in Western Europe, and I guess it was only a matter of time before there was a real flashpoint here in Australia. Strangely enough, it's in a Perth courtroom, and there's going to be a hell of a lot of fascination around that. But just the undercurrent here isn't around the courtroom. It really is around the perception in certain parts of the community that the burqa is symbolic of Muslim extremism, and therefore there's something nefarious and not quite right about it. And that really is just bubbling just below the surface, and that's really what the debate is about.
Well, I think it really does show that schism, that there are conversations that we very much still need to have and that need to be had, on an ongoing basis, and this really highlights that. The idea of banning the burqa, though, is one that leaves me a little worried. I mean, the idea of allowing politicians to legislate what we wear is a slightly scary thought. And if we were going to go down that road, I think perhaps we might start somewhere else. Maybe budgie smugglers would be the place to start.
Staying on the federal election campaign, we've seen this week a different Julia, or what she has argued is a different Julia. How did you take the new Julia this week?
Well, I think that highlights something that needs to be thought about with our election, with our political system generally. And we tend to have these elections in a presidential manner, and we think about the individual personalities and whether those personalities come out or not. But of course, what we're really voting for is a team, and I think we miss that in these debates.
Well, talking of debates, Tony Abbott took the measure not to accept, it was Channel 7's question first to Julia Gillard. She said, great, let's have a second debate, and he didn't want it. Now, is that an element of hubris, as his position now as the new front-runner in this campaign?
I think it was driven by the fact that he didn't need the second debate, as he would have perceived he needed it 10 days before. Over the past couple of weeks, the Labor Party has started to slip and slide, and Abbott, by dint of doing not very much at all, keeping himself a pretty low target, certainly he's kept himself in line compared to the real Tony Abbott.
Griffin, how do you see it?
It's interesting too, though, isn't it, when we've got this talk about the real Julia, when we not too long ago had Tony Abbott talking about the fact that when he speaks, you can't really trust what he says unless it's been written down. So we may see the real Tony, but can we trust the real Tony? So,
So it plays both ways. Is it too early to make a call as to how the poll's going to go on August 21st, do you think?
Yeah, far too early. What do you reckon?
Incredibly tight. I mean, anyone you speak to, they can go either way depending on the day you speak to them.
Now, look, finally, I just want to touch on this sexual harassment case that is going to, seemingly go before the courts in Sydney, the David Jones case. This $37 million damages claim, though, has that actual figure, John, do you think, changed the way in which the community looks at this lady who's making the claim in the first place?
I think it does. I think it moves the complaint from the realm of sexual harassment into a sort of a commercial arena. It's a big figure, it's a fantastic figure, and a figure that won't be realised. And the case itself has been pleaded using a number of different laws. It's not just simply workplace sexual harassment laws. So, yeah, they're going for the big one, her lawyers and the complainant, and they're not going to get $37 million. But what it does is it starts to send out a message in terms of the potential for a settlement that says that the figure will be a big figure.
Huge. Griffin, last word to you on this?
Well, I'm just wondering, John, if you think perhaps that is the aim here. I mean, are they pushing for is this a negotiation for settlement, essentially, that figure, particularly being announced right before the spring line launch?
Which was
the fashion show.
The fashion show.
Hugely commercial for them, surely. Yeah, very important.
Okay.
We'll see how that plays out. John, Griffin, thanks for your time.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.